Stockton, California, once all farmland and quiet streets, has turned into a place where loyalty cuts deep and betrayal cuts even deeper. In this city, where you've got to pick a side early just to survive, two Filipino-American rappers, MB Nell and TC Low, came up together. Same streets, same crew, same Crip ties. They were brothers in every sense, until things took a dark turn. One chose the mic, the other sank deeper into the streets. Then came the fallout, gunfire, broken bombs, and a city left stunned. What happens when one of Stockton's own turns on the set that raised him? How does brotherhood crumble into revenge, prison, and whispers of snitching? This is the story of the Stockton Crip who turned on his own crew. Now, Stockton's a city that's been through a lot, and it's still feeling the heat. While nearby cities like Sacramento and San Francisco benefit from booming industries, Stockton has had a harder time moving forward. With high unemployment and limited economic opportunities, many families in the area face daily challenges. Communities are calling for real investment in education, housing, and resources for youth, believing those are the keys to real change. Gang violence and drug trafficking are part of everyday life in some areas. The city sees everything from break-ins and assaults to car thefts. Certain neighborhoods, like downtown, Civic Center, Park, and Seaport, feel it the hardest. And with not enough officers on the streets, the Stockton Police Officer Association says things are only getting worse. They blame the violence spike on a lack of manpower, saying too many officer positions are sitting empty, which weakens patrols and response times. But not everyone's convinced. Plenty of voices in the community are pushing back, saying more cops and more arrests won't solve the real problem. What they're calling for is real investment into schools, housing, and real opportunities. Because crime, that's just a symptom. Stockton might be a small city, but the street life runs deep. People say everyone knows everyone, and it's easy to get pulled into it one way or another. For many immigrant families, especially Southeast Asian communities who arrived in the U.S. between the 1970s and 1990s, the struggle didn't end after the move. These families often landed in underserved neighborhoods, facing limited support. In that climate, young people sometimes turn to groups or cliques, not out of rebellion, but for protection and belonging. These bonds became a way to navigate unfamiliar and difficult surroundings. That's where the Asian Boyz come in. They're one of the biggest Asian street gangs in Stockton, mostly operating on the north side. The group actually started in LA in the 90s, founded by Marvin Shy Boy Mercado. While it began as a Cambodian-heavy gang, it now includes Vietnamese, Laotian, Korean, and even black members. Over time, they've built deep ties across California, Long Beach, Fresno, Westminster, and more, and even made their way to the East Coast. In Long Beach, some crews rolled with both ABZ and Crip ties, calling themselves the ABZ Crips. And these sets didn't stay small. Some estimates put their numbers in Long Beach alone between 2,000 and 5,000 members. They've formed tight alliances too, linking up with groups like the Vietnamese Boys, East Side Rollin' 20 Crips, Insane Crips, and Sons of Samoa. But with that growth came beef. Their deadliest rivalry was with the Wah Ching gang. After an Asian Boyz member named Kicker got killed in a pool hall by Wah Ching's China dog, things erupted. That sparked what the Asian Boyz called Summer Madness, a bloody stretch where multiple Wah Ching members were hunted and killed in retaliation. Now, if you ask people in Stockton what's really causing all the chaos, you'll get different answers. Some say gangs are the root of everything. Others say gangs are just a symptom of something bigger. But one thing's clear, young people are getting drawn into this life way too early. A detective from Stockton PD's gang unit says there are around 70 gangs in the city, and almost half of them are really active. The wild part, some of these kids getting caught up in it are as young as 12. According to the detective, it usually starts with them just wanting to feel accepted. If they're not getting love or guidance at home, they go looking for it somewhere else. And that somewhere else usually ends up being the streets, which is exactly how it went down for local rappers like TC Low and MB Nell. MB Nell, real name Jonel Dongon, came up as the oldest son in a Filipino immigrant household. His parents were straight up traditional, his mom from Cebu, his pops from Siquijor, and growing up, they kept the culture alive heavy in the house. He was speaking Bisaya as a little kid because his parents barely spoke English, but over time, that side of him started to fade. As he got older, English took over, though he still understood Bisaya. He just didn't use it much anymore. Even with all the culture and tradition at home, the food, the family parties, that full-on Filipino vibe, America still shaped a big part of who MB Nell became. Growing up wasn't easy. He had to figure things out on his own with no clear roadmap. No one was talking about mental health or helping him deal with problems at home. The people who were there, his brothers, his homies, the gang, back then, they were all just trying to survive, carrying around pain they didn't even know how to name. No one was telling them they had potential. No one was showing them a different way. So they leaned on each other, and the gang became their way of having something. Power, respect, a bit of control in a world that gave them none. His parents, they did everything they could to protect him. Moving from the Philippines to California, they just wanted a better life, but outside them, front doors in South Stockton, that was a whole different world. Gangs were everywhere, and for him, getting pulled into that life felt natural. He didn't go out looking for trouble. It was already waiting on the block. Early on, he also learned how to hustle. Watching how people around him moved, he picked up on how to make money. Even if it meant crossing the line, a lot of his friends were deep in the streets, gang banging, selling substances, hitting licks. It wasn't about being tough, it was about surviving in a city where poverty and pain were just part of the backdrop. And when that's what you see every day, you don't question it, you just adapt. As MB Nell was coming up, his environment was already knee-deep in the streets. His uncles and cousins were active in the Crip scene, especially the Filipino sets that ran through his neighborhood. He looked up to crews like OP and TP, two Filipino Crip sets that had some weight back then. But like a lot of things in the streets, those sets eventually faded. That's when MB Nell decided to carve out his lane and came up with Muddy Boys. The name had meaning. They called their city the Mud, and Stockton was nicknamed Mudville, so it only made sense. The MB and MB Nell stood for different things too. Muddy Boys, of course, but also Matty Boys, named after Matty Harrell Park, one of their main hangout spots. That park even had its own story. He had a brush with violence that changed everything. He wasn't the target though, his homie was the one into it. But still, bullets don't care who you are. Instead of being shook, Nell said he ran off laughing. That's how young and reckless they were back then. Around that same age, Nell landed in juvie over an incident involving a girl who pulled a knife on him and his friend. Things escalated and it turned into an assault case. They got released not long after, but that run-in with the law left a mark. He got involved in risky behavior at a young age. That tells you what kind of world he was moving through. Then there's TC Low, real name Lawrence Carolino. Just like MB Nell, he came up in South Stockton in a neighborhood known as Little Manila. TC had it rough from the jump. His pops was running a trap out of the house, complete with illegal slot machines. When authorities finally caught up with him, they reportedly recovered a loaded firearm, an assault-style weapon, and a significant quantity of suspected drugs. That whole operation got shut down quick, and his dad ended up going to jail for it. MB Nell and TC Low were tight as kids. Same race, same block, same struggles. Both ended up connected to Crip affiliations and found themselves navigating the same maze. While Nell's love for music came early, thanks to his dad's cover band, where he heard classic rock blaring out of the garage. It wasn't something he saw as a career. He started off just writing rhymes in school when class got boring, then recording in his room with a basic mic setup. He was just having fun, but the more he dropped songs, the more his circle pushed him to keep going. By 19, he used money from a small gig to shoot the video for Love Me Gang, and that move opened the door. The streets were watching, and so were people outside his city. Even Lil Baby followed him online. say Cheese picked him up. That song was a turning point. At first, his parents weren't feeling it. Like a lot of immigrant families, they came from the Philippines, chasing that better life dream for their kid to finish school, maybe go into nursing or something steady. Music wasn't part of that plan, but Nell stuck with it and it paid off. From there, he just kept building. He dropped his first album, Forever, in 2018, then followed it up with the Lifestyle mixtape that same year. In 2019, he leveled up. His song, Feelings, exploded with over 35 million streams, and the In My City video hit over 10 million views. He dropped more heat like Misunderstood, the Counting Band's EP, and Born to Win, a project with 15 tracks and features from Mozzie, TJ3K, Lil Papa, and Lil Bean. Dear Janae, a tribute to his daughter, was a standout. One of the wildest moments for Nell came when the San Francisco 49ers used Born to Win in one of their pre-game hype videos. He saw it during a studio session and couldn't stop smiling. That track had real weight behind it, and now an NFL team was marching onto the field with it. Meanwhile, TC Low was trying to find his way out too. Around 2019, he started pushing his music harder. He was dealing with legal trouble, family drama, and just trying to survive. He couldn't catch a break, and that pressure pushed him toward music. His early track, Do They Love You, came from a real dark place. He admitted he was battling thoughts of self-harm, feeling like nobody had love for him. Music became his outlet. He dropped his album, My Life, My Struggle, in 2020. It had solid collabs and visuals to go with it. Even MB Nell spoke highly of him in an interview, saying he thought TC could really be the next big thing out of Stockton. That same year, MB Nell released Child of the Trenches through Muddy Boys/Empire. It made waves, even landing on XXL's radar. The EP had 6 tracks where Nell laid it all out, his life, his struggles, and the hope he wanted to pass on to kids growing up like him. The production was handled by big names like Mike Crook and Kanu Beats, and he brought in Rucci and Black Assets for features. The whole project was a statement, showing the kind of pain and pride that came with growing up in the trenches, whether in Stockton or the Philippines. The lead single from that project, Heroic, started buzzing heavy. Within a month, the video was pushing 500K views, and it was spinning on stations like Power 106 and Sirius XM. Nell kept it humble though, saying he wasn't chasing fame, he just wanted to connect with people who might be going through it too. But behind the scenes, things were starting to shift. TC Low was making moves that put his freedom on the line. Legal trouble kept piling up, and on top of that, his bond with MB Nell started to break down. TC began pulling away, repping a North Stockton Crip set instead of the Southside roots they both came up on. That tension kept building, and eventually, it all just spiraled out of control. It was the early hours of February 2nd, 2020, around 4 a.m. MB Nell had just finished doing a show and was on his way back to his mom's crib, driving a Honda Civic. Inside that house, his mom, his girl, and his baby girl, who was only 5 months old at the time. That was his whole world sitting under one roof. As he pulled into the driveway, he noticed a van pulling up right behind him. That gut feeling hit. Something felt off. So thinking fast, he tried to position his car with the back facing the house. Then out of nowhere, the van stopped and somebody let loose. Suddenly, gunfire erupted, dozens of rounds striking his car. All MB Nell could do was duck and hope for the best. Miraculously, not a single bullet hit him. The car got lit up, but he came out without a scratch. Back inside, his family was shaken, but Nell stayed cool. He told everybody to stay quiet and act like they didn't know what went down. Then he dipped before the cops even pulled up. Neighbors had already called them. Later, the streets started talking. Word was that the shooter might have been TC Low, but that night wasn't the end of it. Far from it. TC Low's name would pop back up months later. Along with Amanda Arcana, Larissa Constancio Galvez, and a minor girl, he got arrested in connection to another gang-related shooting in April 2020. Someone actually got hit in that one. Adding to the chaos, TC Low was already being looked into by law enforcement for a separate shooting back in February, one that might have been linked to the same ongoing conflict. While locked up, TC Low started throwing dirt on MB Nell's name. He went on claiming Nell was a snitch. Word spread that some of Nell's own family had cooperated with police after that February shooting. And to back it all up, TC Low dropped court transcripts online trying to prove his point. Then, in October 2020, everything escalated. MB Nell was one of 34 people swept up in a major gang takedown in Stockton. The operation was called Operation Crypto Night Takedown, a 4-month-long effort that brought together the Stockton PD's Gang Violence Suppression Unit, the California DOJ, CHP's Special Ops, and District Attorney teams from surrounding cities like Sacramento, Modesto, and Manteca. This operation focused on cracking down on gang-related activity, specifically targeting individuals connected to organized street groups. Authorities said these groups were moving as a unit, causing chaos and violence across Stockton. Stockton's police chief made it clear they were aiming to target the key players driving the gun violence in the city. Through this sting, they uncovered shifting alliances, new rivalries, and a deep web of organized street crime. The final results, 34 arrests, including MB Nell. He got picked up for charges related to a false compartment and possession of a controlled substance. The bust wasn't light either. Authorities seized a significant quantity of illegal substances and firearms during the operation. Community advocates like Joyce Tune from the Victims of Violent Crimes group spoke out, saying these arrests gave families a little hope, especially those who lost loved ones to gun violence. The Stockton police chief said big operations like this could help turn the tide in neighborhoods hurting the most. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra also stepped in, saying this kind of teamwork showed just how powerful it was when state and local agencies came together to hit the streets with real force. Meanwhile, TC Low was already in county jail when he was hit with new charges, including firing at an occupied vehicle, conspiracy, alleged gang involvement, and several counts of attempted murder. As for MB Nell, his manager, Matt Llewellyn, gave an update saying Nell had been released on bail, was back with family, and focused on his music and upcoming album. They weren't saying much else, but one thing was clear. Despite all the chaos, MB Nell was still standing. By 2021, the fallout finally started catching up with TC Low and his crew. On January 7th, Larissa was sentenced to 10 months in county jail for being an accessory after the fact. Then, on April 5th, Amanda got hit with 5 years in state prison for attempted murder. And finally, on June 17th, TC Low himself was handed a 15-year sentence, also for attempted murder. While all that was playing out, MB Nell's life was moving in a whole different direction. 2021 ended up being a major turning point for him, a year full of milestones that felt like a dream come true. After everything he had survived growing up in Stockton, stepping into this new chapter felt unreal. He'd finally broken free from the weight of gang life and poverty. And now, with the mic in his hand, Nell was starting to show the world that he had a voice way bigger than his past. For Nell, hope is everything. That's what drives his music. Even when people don't fully understand him, he still pushes forward, using his platform to inspire and uplift. Seeing people look up to him is what keeps him grounded. And honestly, being misunderstood, it's given him freedom. It lets him speak his truth, spread his story, and do it all without borders. This was also the year he made real noise. His West Coast shows sold out, and he brought that same energy to Rolling Loud in LA. By 2022, he took it even further, shutting down a show in London with a packed crowd. Around that same time, he dropped the video for Toxic, a visual directed by Mike Wild Dollars that told the story of a toxic relationship falling apart. Nell played the narrator while Haben sang from the woman's point of view, trying to find peace. That track followed the powerful release of Fade Away, a piano-driven tribute to a fan who lost her battle with depression. Nell had met her before, and hearing what happened hit close to home. So close, in fact, he decided to donate half the money from the song to a mental health facility focused on suicide prevention. It was a raw and honest gesture, showing the heart behind the music. And while Nell was building bridges through music, TC Low was still in the shadows, going off from behind bars. In 2022, he popped up on Instagram Live straight from his jail cell, dropping diss tracks and full-blown rants about MBNel. He even released 2 albums, Letter Home and Choose to Forget, both laced with threats and disses aimed at Nell. Meanwhile, Nell stayed locked in on his path. In October 2023, during Filipino Heritage Month, he linked up with MB for a sold-out show at SOB's in New York. That moment came right after he featured on MB's debut album Under Shady to Aftermath, which was a big deal since even Eminem was involved in the project. Nell called the whole experience surreal, and the respect between the two artists was mutual. By the end of 2023, Nell dropped his biggest project yet, 8 to Infinity. It wasn't just a musical leap, it was personal growth on full display. He blended melodies, emotion, and raw street wisdom like never before. Tracks like Teardrops and Restart hit hard, while features from Mozzie, Young Blue, and Millie's brought serious heat. Like Me, his collab with Mozzie, one of his top 5 favorite artists, came together right after Mozzie got out, and you can feel the realness in it. Nell even flew out east to work with Millie's and linked up down south with Young Blue, proving he's not afraid to cross lines and push his sound. His voice, deep, gritty, and unmistakable, is now part of his brand. And that title, flipping the 8 sideways to mean infinity, wasn't just clever, it was personal. From 8th Street in Stockton to inspiring fans worldwide, Nell's not just talking elevation, he's living it. And the grind didn't stop there. In early 2024, he dropped Just Like You, followed by another heater, Ghosts 2. That video was shot in Malati, Manila, and it was packed with heavy hitters in the Filipino hip-hop scene. Shanti Dope, Hail Mary, Oside Mafia, Price Tag, and more. The community showed up big for him, and Nell took it all in with nothing but gratitude. He even teased that collabs with some of those artists might be on the way. In Ghosts 2, he flexed his rap skills hard. The beat was inspired by an Asian-style video game, and he just flowed over it with precision. His roots were front and center too, Filipino pride woven into the sound and visuals. It was the second straight video he shot in the Philippines, and it made one thing clear: Nell was reconnecting with his culture in a major way. That same year, he made plans to head back to the Philippines, this time not just to perform but to give back. He talked about wanting to pull up in the trenches with gifts for the kids. He remembered his childhood visits, riding motorbikes with his uncle, exploring the neighborhood, swimming in warm ocean water, even when it rained hard. Those memories stuck with him, and now he was ready to create new ones, this time as a professional artist with purpose. He shared that he wants to do more charity work too, like handing out shoes or food. For him, it's not just about fame, it's about using what he's built to show love to those who need it most. Back in Stockton, Nell's looking to give back. He's planning to launch 2 businesses in his hometown, investing in the place that raised him. With millions of Spotify streams under his belt, MB Nell is leaning into his purpose, choosing music over the streets and fully realizing he's got something real. He's not about to throw that away. Now, at 25, he's figuring out what it means to be a role model, a role he admits still feels new. But even with that pressure, he's locked in on growth and using his platform to shine a positive light on Stockton. For MB Nell, Stockton will always be home. And if sharing his story helps somebody else chase their own dreams, then all the struggles, all the work, and all the pain, it was worth it. Appreciate you watching. If you liked it, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe for more.